池上彰と
増田ユリヤの YouTube 学園。
前回は松田さんがウィスコンシンでトランプさんを支持する共和党の学生たちにインタビューしたんですが、今回は民主党の、中でもいろんな考え方があるという、そういう取材なんですね。
はい。民主党のハリスさんの副大統領候補の、ウォルツさん。この方の出身はミネソタ州知事でしたよね。で、そのミネソタ州に取材に行ったんですけれども、
はい。
民主党の中にも今の民主党政権のやり方に対して反発を覚えていて、で、実際にハリスさんを選出するときに、党大会の中で選出するという方法を取りますよね、池上さん。
はい、そうでしたね。
はい。で、その党大会の時には、各地の党員の方たちが一応投票をするという形で、認められるということになるわけなんですけれども、その行動を取るときに白票を投じたという方たちがいるんですね。で、じゃあ、なぜそういう行動を取ったのかということを、民主党員であるサミュエルさんという方にお話を聞いてきました。
じゃあサミュエルさんよろしくお願いいたします。まずサミュエルさんは今どういう活動をしているかということを教えてください。
Professionally, I work for a small mental health nonprofit clinic, and we provide mental health care on a financially accessible basis to LGBTQ youth.
で、今カフェやなさってますけれども、それには何か意味があるんでしょうか。
Yes, this is a Palestinian kufiya, so it's a symbol of Palestinian culture and identity, and Palestinians have asked people all over the world who are standing in solidarity with them and supporting them as they face a genocide and displacement in their home country to wear this as a symbol of support and solidarity.
さっきLGBTQ とかそういったお仕事をなさっているとおっしゃってましたけれども、このパレスチナの支援っていうのはお仕事とはまた別のことになるんでしょうか。
Yeah, so I'm an activist in politics here in Minnesota, and I'm a member and leader of our Minnesota DFL party, which is what we call the Democratic Party here in the state of Minnesota. And I've been involved with the party for about 8 years, holding various leadership positions. And I've often been one who is carrying causes and struggles that the party would rather not address because it's challenging and inconvenient, but I believe is important as a matter of human rights.
触れたがらないところっていうのは期待する部分にもなるかと思うんですけれども、今やっぱりその民主党が触れたがらない問題の一つとしてはガザの問題ということになりますでしょうか。
Absolutely. This is a big challenge for our party, and it's been really divisive because the leadership of our party, President Biden, Kamala Harris, the top brass of the Democratic National Committee have maintained the course of unconditionally sending bombs and funding to Israel as it continues to as it's launched this terrible assault on the Palestinian people. And it's hard for our party to address because there's a very significant disconnect between the leadership of the party and where the vast majority of Democratic voters and party members are. And as Israel has continued this war and assault on Palestinians, public opinion has shifted significantly. However, the policies of the Biden-Harris administration have not changed, and the U.S. isn't enforcing its own laws to ensure, which require our country to not send bombs and weapons to countries that are committing human rights abuses, and this is really upsetting. And I believe it presents a significant electoral threat to our party and makes it difficult, if not impossible, for a Democratic candidate to win election this fall. And to be clear, I do not want Donald Trump to be president. No way. And so it's important that the Democratic Party and the leadership of our party get in alignment with where the majority of Americans are on this issue so that we can elect a Democratic president and keep Republicans out of power.
市民の人たちの考えに寄り添ったものになるために実際に起こした行動ってありますか？例えば今私が聞いている中では予備選挙の時の行動というのがあったと思うんですが、その辺のところを教えてください。
Me and hundreds of other organizers in the country, we worked around the presidential primary elections, and on our ballots we had the choice of Joe Biden, some small candidates who had no chance, and uncommitted. And uncommitted is an option that says none of these candidates, none of the above. And so many Americans and Democratic voters specifically were very upset and still are very upset with President Biden and the policies of unconditionally sending bombs and money to Israel as it continues this assault on Palestinians. And so we organize uncommitted votes here in Minnesota and in many states in the country. Cumulatively, we earned 738,000 votes, 750,000 votes for uncommitted across the country. And as a result, the way our presidential primary and party system work, that yielded a little over 30 delegates to the Democratic National Convention who were pledged to support uncommitted. I'm one of those delegates who was elected out of Minnesota to represent the uncommitted vote at the National Convention. And so while all the other delegates at the DNC were pledged to Joe Biden and then changed their support to Kamala Harris, as uncommitted delegates, we maintained our status to say we will not commit to a candidate unless they commit to supporting Palestinian human rights, which right now means setting conditions on aid to Israel. And given that Israel is not letting up on its war and is perpetrating a genocide, we can't commit to an administration that will not commit to the rights of Palestinians to live. At the Democratic National Convention, it's mostly it's pageantry. It's a show. It's a party to celebrate the nominee of the party at the National Convention, and it's a show of unity. However, our party is really divided right now, and just starting with 30 delegates at the National Convention, we increased our numbers tenfold. We left the convention with 330 delegates who signed on to our demands addressed to Vice President Harris, calling on her to support an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, and also to commit to an arms embargo to stop sending weapons to Israel. And I think this shows that the message that we're bringing, that this is an intolerable situation, resonates broadly in the party. So for context, there's over 4,000 delegates at the National Convention, and the majority of Democratic voters want an majority of Americans want an arms embargo, and that's much more skewed for Democrats preferring that. And so while other delegates were there to support Kamala Harris, they also agreed with us that we can't continue this course. We can't continue sending weapons and money to Israel as it is trying to destroy the Palestinian people.
さっきね、トランプ政権はありえないっていうような話があったと思うんですけれども、だとすればやっぱり民主党に勝ってもらわなければいけないっていうような側面もありますよね。その辺の矛盾みたいなものはこれからどうやって乗り越えていこうというふうに考えてますか
？Our movement, the uncommitted movement, has given fair warning to President Biden, Vice President Harris, Governor Walz, who's now our vice presidential nominee, that there isn't a path to victory in this election unless they get right on this issue. Often as voters, we're told to constantly compromise our values and sometimes set them aside to prevent a greater threat. And it's right. I don't want Donald Trump to be president. No way. Absolutely not. I want a Democratic candidate to be president. And I'm not considering any third-party options like Dr. Stein. A lot of people are, though. And I don't feel that I, in good faith, can ask uncommitted voters and disaffected voters who are disgusted by this situation to hold their nose and tolerate genocide to vote for Kamala Harris. And often voters are the ones blamed for the failures of the party to understand what is the mood of the public. And we have done everything we can as uncommitted leaders and as a movement to indicate to the leadership of our party and to Vice President Harris that we provided a path, a playbook. Here is how you win. Here's what it takes to win. Over 100,000 voters in the state of Michigan, one of the most important swing states in this country, voted for uncommitted. Michigan has the largest Arab American community in this country, and many of those Arab American voters are saying, I can't vote for Kamala Harris because of this issue. And so some of them are looking at Donald Trump. Some of them are looking at Dr. West. Some of them are looking at Dr. Stein as alternative third-party candidates. And this is solvable by the leadership of the party, but it would require them to change their stance on this issue, to commit to and deliver a ceasefire and an arms embargo. And that's what it would take to bring these voters back into the fold of supporting the party. And that's what it would have taken for the uncommitted movement to say, yes, we will endorse and support you. So personally, I'll be voting for Kamala Harris in November, but I can't tell other people to do it, and I'm not campaigning for her.
例えばね、やっぱりトランプさんに勝ってほしくないし、その民主党としてやっていくべきことがあるということをハリスさんに要望書を出していて、それを実現してもらうという活動があると思うんですけれども、その一方でそれが実現できないから支持できない、投票しないっていうふうになるんではないかっていう心配があると思うんですね。そこのところはどういうふうに解決していこう、票に結びつけてやっぱりハリスさんに勝ってもらわなきゃいけないという現実もあると思うので、そこのところはどんなふうに考えていますか
？The Uncommitted National Movement recently released a statement, and we were clear that Kamala Harris, as our party's nominee, has not met our demands. And she has made it impossible for the Uncommitted Movement to endorse her for president. And that's because she hasn't adopted the policies which we're pushing for an immediate and permanent ceasefire and an arms embargo. I still believe in the importance of civic engagement and in voting, but I understand that every voter, when they get to the ballot box in November, they're going to vote their conscience. They're going to look at this issue, and they're also going to look at a range of other issues. And like I said earlier, in good faith, I can't beseech voters to set aside their concerns on this issue. The best I can do is talk about all the other range of important issues in this election. Abortion access is very important as part of the discussion. Investment in social programs, childcare, housing, healthcare in particular. We know that the Republican Party doesn't have plans to help the American people on these issues. They just want to cut programs, cut taxes, and give tax breaks to the wealthy in particular. For me, I'm personally not affected by this issue. I'm not Palestinian, I'm not Arab, I'm a Christian, white Christian American, but it's my values that lead me to act in empathy and concern and solidarity, and it's hard for me. I'm gonna get my ballot and I'm gonna look at it and I'm gonna have to think really hard about how do I reconcile this. But Often we think of our vote as an expression of our personal values. And what I try to tell folks is that your vote doesn't have to be everything you believe in. It's not all or nothing, because no candidate is going to be perfect. Your vote is a tactical choice. Which candidate, and only Donald Trump or Kamala Harris will be president next year. It will only be one of them. So among those choices, how are you going to use your vote to change the outcome and affect the outcome? I, of course, believe that this country would be better off if Kamala Harris was president. But I know that the Palestinian people will not be better off if Kamala Harris is president. And, like I said, I'm not personally affected by this. I have that privilege to be unaffected. But I've talked to so many Palestinian Americans who have lost many family members. One of my colleagues is Palestinian in my job. I met someone who has lost over 100 members of her family, her extended family. All of her aunts and uncles, cousins, her grandparents are dead. And I don't know what to say, except I am sorry our country is making this possible by not intervening, by unconditionally sending bombs to kill your family. And that's a disconnect. It's an impossible position to be in. So I know how I want this election to turn out, but as a matter of conscience, I am abstaining from campaigning for president.
いや、民主党ってやっぱり立場が苦しい、という状況がよくわかるよね。要するに、ガザへイスラエルの攻撃を今の民主党政権が止められないじゃないか。あるいは、ハリスもそれを止めようとしていないじゃないか。だからハリスには投票したくない。で、アメリカの場合、共和党と民主党以外にも第三党という形で実はいくつかの政党が、から立候補者がいるんだよね。そっちに投票しようかということになると、結局、トランプ大統領が誕生してしまう。それも嫌だしという、本当に悩んでるという状況がよくわかったね。
一応民主党員としては最終的にはハリスさんを選ぶという道を取るだろうというふうにご自身たちも思ってはいるんですけれども、でも実際に投票用紙を手にしたときに迷いが生じるんじゃないかっておっしゃってましたよね、サミュエルさんはね。ですから、そのあたりが本当に一筋縄ではいかないところだし、だからこそ本当に民主党も一筋縄でいかないから接戦にもなっているっていうところがあるんだなって思いましたね。
特にね、トランプ・ハリスの、大接戦と日本で伝えられているけれども、アメリカで実際に話を聞いてみると、なるほど、こういういろんな事情があるからなんだってことがよくわかるね。
だから何を大事にして、これまで今の方は政治活動もしてきたわけですけれども、そのあたり折り合いがつかない問題が自国以外のところで起きてしまうわけですよね。じゃあ、そうしたときにどんな道を取るかっていうのは非常に難しい外交問題にもなってくるわけですが、どちらが選ばれて、どんな先の道が開けていくのかというところが、いずれにしても心配なところに私としてはなりましたね。
ね、本当にこのアメリカの大統領選挙っていうのは実は中東問題と直接つながっているんだなってこともわかるよね。で、さあ、次回は、増田さんどんな取材を紹介してくれるんでしょう。
はい。まさにそのアラブ世界とアメリカの関係ですよね。アラブ系のアメリカ人の方たちという人たちがいて、その人たちがこれまでは民主党を支持してきたんですが、今回は支持しないということを表明した。そんな方たちがどういうことを考えているのかということをご紹介します。
YouTube 学園から新しい本が生まれました。歴史で読み解く世界情勢の基本。これを読めば混迷する世界情勢が見えてきます。
チョコレートで読み解く世界史。チョコレートの歴史を知ると今の世界情勢もわかります。
美味しい本ですね。
はい、ぜひ味わってください。